Hey guys, my name is alina.biliychuk. This is my first YouTube video and I hope to make many more, hopefully. I wanted to make today's video talking about my LPN to RN journey and kind of how it's been. A little bit about myself. I currently live in Oahu. Prior to living in Oahu, I lived in Missouri and Washington State. So I have family in both of those states. Here in Oahu, it's just me and my husband and my two cats, George and Francesca. So yeah, anyways, I kind of wanted to talk about my LPN to RN journey and my thoughts on it because I know there's a lot of different routes and there's a lot of different pros and cons to which route to go versus just going all the way through a four-year university and or doing the ADN route, or actually, getting your LPN and then getting your RN. So I guess we'll just kind of start off with my journey and how I got, to where I am now, starting off with when I was 16 and I was in high school. I decided that I wanted to get homeschooled because I was like, what's the point of being here? I felt like I wasn't really involved and with all the high school typical stuff like sports and people going to parties and stuff like that, and that just wasn't my scene. My best friend left to boarding school, and then my other really close friend, we didn't have any classes together, and I just felt like, what am I doing here? So I convinced my parents to let me get homeschooled, so that I told them, I was like, I'll graduate within a few months and I'll go to college. So that's what I ended up doing. I got homeschooled and I graduated in 5 months, and then I started college at 17. I worked on all my prerequisites and all that, also working throughout college as well, and that was kind of the purpose of that. I wanted to have a full-time job and go to school so I can feel independent and kind of make an income. At 18 is when I got accepted into the LPN program, so I did my T's, I did the prereqs that were required there in Missouri at the community college, and I got accepted. At the time, I also just started dating my first boyfriend and just a lot going on, and so I started, and my first quarter was, I remember being really challenging, and I was just like, okay, this is a lot at once. And at the same time, I was also taking physiology, and I know most people, they take A&P1 and A&P2, but the way we had it was anatomy and then physiology. For some reason, they incorporated to where you were doing the nursing school classes and physiology at the same time versus making it a prerequisite. I remember physiology was killing me because I was so bored out of my mind. I just had the worst teacher, and then nursing school was a lot at the same time, balancing that with my social life and my boyfriend and all these things, and just remember getting super overwhelmed, and I ended up not passing my first quarter. I ended up getting an 81.49 in one of my classes, and I had to have an 82.5. The standards at the college I was going to, they're pretty high. To have a B is an 82.5, and you needed that on your exams, and you needed that in the class overall. So I didn't get it, and then I remember just being so devastated. I was like, what the heck, maybe I should just change my whole career path, maybe do physical therapy, or I don't know, just do something different. I was so confused, especially I'm such a person, I always have a plan, right? I try to be on track, and just this was such a huge failure for me, but luckily it ended up working out that I didn't pass my 8-week class, but I still had 8 more weeks to pass physiology, basically. So I worked really hard, and I remember just crying, hoping I'd pass this phys class because it just seemed like the death of me, and thankfully I did pass. Meanwhile, I was taking that phys class. I was also doing the remediation required to go back to the program. They required you to do a bunch of extra work so that you could get into the program whenever the next opportunity was, which would have been for me in August, because I had started originally in January. So the next time I would be able to get in was in August. So I did that, and then in the summertime I was looking for a job. I was like, I want to get somewhere in the healthcare field just to get my foot in the door, anything basically. And then my friend ended up calling me, and she's like, hey, there's open interviews at the nearby hospital. And I was like, okay, cool, maybe I'll go and apply to be a phlebotomist or something like that. I was like, I don't know, drawing blood and starting IVs, kind of similar, maybe it'll be good experience or something. So I ended up going, and when I was interviewing with the HR person, she's like, I really think that the ER tech position would be really good for you. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that is or like what they do, but if she thinks I'll be good for it, I'm gonna be good for it. Like, you know, I was just trying to get my foot in the door. I really didn't even know what they did or what it'd be like. And so I ended up getting hired, and it was a great experience. And I'm so happy that things worked out the way they did. So past phys, started my ER tech position in the summer, worked for like a few months, and there we did venipuncture, helping the RNs with whatever they needed, and it was a really good experience. And so when I came back in August, I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like I just was ready to not mess around, I guess. Not that I was messing around before, but I felt like more comfortable, like as if I had matured in the past 6 months and was like, felt way more comfortable with everything that we were studying, and just, I don't know, I felt a lot stronger. And I knew also I had no room to fail again, like at all. Like that was my one shot to basically get through the whole program, and not just LPN, but if I were to stay and do my RN there, that was my one chance. You mess up once, you get one chance to come back, and then if you mess up, there's no coming back, no redeeming yourself. So I worked my butt off that year, and I was also working in the ER per diem, so I would pick up like night shifts or random like midday shifts, and it was so awesome to just get that experience, even being in contact with patients and just learning all these different things of how it is like working with the RN team and all these different people that they have there in the hospital. It was just a really good experience, and I'm super thankful for that. We did EKGs and just everything, participated in codes and stuff like that. It was really good exposure. And you know, I was able to make a little bit of money. So in the summer of 2016, that was in June, it was my birthday, and I was turning in from 19 to 20, and I graduated. And so I graduated in the summer of 2016. It was also my birthday that month, June, so I was 19 turning 20, and I had my wedding coming up in just 2 months. So I basically planned my wedding throughout LPN school, and while I was in LPN school, my boyfriend, who then became my fiance, took a job in Hawaii, and so we were planning on having the wedding in Seattle because majority of my family and the majority of his family are on the west coast, and it would have been just easier, instead of having them to fly to Missouri, just have the small amount of family in Missouri come to Washington. And then after our wedding, we were going to move to Oahu, or technically I was going to move because he was already living there. So I was like, whatever, I passed, I graduated. Just remember that last few weeks was like terrible. It's like, I was so over it. After the whole year, I was like, I just want to survive these past few weeks and just pass this last, you know, class in clinicals it was. And then I was like, okay, let's schedule my NCLEX as soon as possible. I want to get it over with. I don't want to think about nursing school or NCLEX or anything like that. I want to just focus on my wedding and just relaxing finally. I remember on my way to the NCLEX, I was so calm and chill, and I was like, yeah, I don't care what happens. Like, I'm getting married and I'm moving to Hawaii, so whatever. And that's, people were telling me that, like my actual instructor was like, dude, who cares? Like, honestly, forget nursing, like you're moving to Hawaii. As if that's gonna just, like, you can't just move to Hawaii and not have a job or whatever. But in general, they're just like, enjoy that whole time there. And so that's what I did. I ended up passing my NCLEX right away with like, as soon as I think it's the 80th question or whatever that it turned off right away. I ended up passing. I was so excited because I was honestly like, if I have to retake it, I don't even care. I just want to like get this over with and get married and move. But thankfully I ended up passing, and then I had my wedding in August and we moved to Oahu. So after we moved, I went ahead and applied for the process called license without examination. And so I was trying to get my LPN transferred from Missouri to Hawaii. And it was really simple, actually. I was so thankful I didn't have to retake my NCLEX and all of that, or I don't even know how it is in other states, but I'm just so thankful that it was super simple. Took maybe a few weeks before they mailed me my Hawaii license. The first 6 months of living here, I didn't work. I was kind of just trying to get settled in with like my apartment, just life, living here, you know, becoming a wife, all these new things. And then finally started applying to different jobs. I didn't know like where they hired LPNs here. Like, I know a lot of places, obviously nursing homes and like resident homes, they hire LPNs. Most hospitals I felt like probably wouldn't hire, and so I really didn't know, but I found some positions online and I applied for like a resource nurse or resource LPN and a position for urgent access. And so I got called in by the company, and they interviewed me for both. They actually asked me, do you want to work at the urgent access or do you want to be a float nurse? Based on the location, I was like, oh, I'll do the urgent access. Didn't really know what it entailed, and so I ended up interviewing again with the manager, and everything went well and I got hired on. It was a really good experience, and I'm super thankful that I got that job, and I was able just to learn so much from the people I was working with, the doctors, just exposed to different type of disease processes, administering medications like IMs and NED treatments and all these different things, as well as in the evenings we would be the only ones there. Like it would be a doctor and 2 LPNs or an LPN and MA, and oftentimes would have random stuff walk through the door like shortness of breath, chest pain, and we'd be kind of triaging, assessing, and really like it helped with my critical thinking skills, I think, and just overall having confidence in patient care and medications and all these things. While I was in LPN school, I was like, okay, let's get into some kind of an RN program. Like, you know, what do they have here on the island? And I looked around. There were several universities, and then a community college, and there was only 2 LPN to RN programs. That's one LPN to BSN, and then an LPN to RN bridge. And the college that was offering the LPN to BSN, their NCLEX pass rate was like 68%. I was like, yeah, and it was a private institution. I was like, I'm not paying 60 grand to, or not 60 grand, 30 grand. I think it was like 30 grand for an out-of-state resident, and to have a 68% chance of pass the NCLEX, like, I know it's based on our study habits and overall like my knowledge, but I think that when a program is challenging you and is really pushing you, and their pass rates should like reflect that on the NCLEX. So I ended up going just the regular LPN to RN bridge program, and I applied and I did not get in, and they were like, oh, you need this prerequisite. So I was like, oh, this is so annoying to take extra classes, but it ended up being fine. I took, you know, patho-phys class and applied again, and then again I didn't get in, and I was given the alternate position. So basically, you know, if someone decides to opt out or whatever, then they would call me. I was like, okay, great, like so much time is passing, like I feel like I'm just wasting time, you know, working. I just really want to become an RN and whatever. But I started also taking classes towards my BSN, so that once I graduated with my RN, I could just straight go through and get my BSN as well. And that way I just, you know, wouldn't waste time taking statistics or whatever, chemistry. And so I was doing that, and then I applied again, and finally I got in. So I think that was like 3 times of applying. Yeah, 3 times, and 2.5 years. Finally I got in. I was just so excited to start this journey, and I started in June. And I've been working as LPN as well. So I've been going to school full-time and working part-time. In conclusion of all of this, I guess I would say that I'm super happy that I went the LPN then RN route, because one of the things that before was important to me was it's like a little milestone, like you graduate and get your LPN license, and then you can work and make a little bit more money than if you were to work, you know, at the mall or as a CNA, or nothing against that, but that way you can make a little bit more money and just get a little bit more experience, you know. At the end of the day, like, yeah, you're not working as an RN or whatever, but you're still just, you know, getting that communication with patients, understanding how to deal with their families, you know, learning about disease process. I learned so much just working with the doctors that I did, and all the different things. I just walked through the door, like major laceration repairs and all this random stuff, and you just learn. And I feel like it helps you do better when you're in RN school, or when you finally graduate as an RN and start working as an RN. I don't know, a lot of people in my class tell me right now, like, oh, you seem so confident and comfortable, and I feel like because of my experience these past, like, 3 years, because I worked as an ER tech and then as an LPN, I feel like it really contributes to that, you know, versus not having any patient care experience, not having any experience administrating any kind of medications, or like applying what you learn in school, your disease processes, to the patients that you're, you know, dealing with and what they have going on. I think that it's a really great route, especially if you want to make some money while you're in RN school. you know, for me, that's motivating to me versus not working at all or making minimum wage. Why not? You know, I know a lot of programs like the ADN, you start and then you graduate with your RN ADN, but you can't sit for your LPN boards. And I'm like, that's kind of a bummer. And so although it kind of took a while, I know that if you go to a 4-year university, just go straight on through and you don't have to reapply to anything, like that is really awesome, and that would have been super nice. But I'm grateful for the experience that I've got and in the journey that it's been for me. I'm graduating in 6 months and I'm so excited. So I started in June, and then I had my med surge, and then I had peds, and right now I'm in OB. And then in January after Christmas, I think it's like mental health and like our critical care med surge type of thing or whatever. But yeah, it's been a really hard journey. And I know for so many people, like in different states, it's so hard to get into LPN school or RN school or nursing school in general. And I just want to encourage you guys to continue trying and don't give up. And if you don't pass a class or you just feel like a failure or something, like don't let that set you back and not move forward with like your goals. Just allow it to make you stronger, as cliche as that sounds. But everything works out for like a reason. I'm so thankful that, you know, when I didn't pass that class in LPN school, in the moment I was like, this is the end of the world, but it allowed me to pass phys, allowed me to get a job in the ER, and timing wise, I graduated and got married right after. It was just like the perfect timing, like life works out. And so yeah, I don't know, but I'm super thankful you guys watched this video, and I hope that you guys will stay tuned for what's more to come. Kind of just want to share my nursing school journey, and as well as like what it's like living in Hawaii and my life here. So yeah, thank you.